So once again, from our organizing team, just the most deepest, the most deep appreciation and gratitude to all of you. We know that your time and your energy is precious, and we love you being here with us today. Thank you very, very much. And I'll pass this to Tara.
Thank you, Mashim, my friend. I really appreciate your warm welcome. And I've had the time now. I get to look at the little boxes and I see old friends. Yeah, I see you and new friends. And then I'm feeling you live streamers with us. So yeah, I just want to add my welcome. There is a line from the poet Dorothy Postaway that comes to me frequently, and it is create a clearing in the dense forest of your life. That dense forest, we know it, the circling thoughts and feelings, the reactivity. So that's what it feels like today. It feels like we're creating a clearing together, breathing, being here. You might pause and just feel that because we need these spaces in current times. The airways are so thick with, anger and fear and confusion. It's that collective trance. And some people are stirred up, others are in that numb, exhausted. Story I heard years ago is of a mom sending her son an email. And what said is, start worrying, details to follow. Aren't we like that? There's so much tensing against what's to come, leaning ahead. So it matters that we reconnect with presence, with an awake heart. So I'm aware a lot of you probably have poured in energy, some very active, some, emotional energy in these last months. There's a meme from our last democracy event, when we love, we win. And it comes with humility about the timeline, yeah? There's a quote, I'm not sure where it came from, that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. So I want to consider just what gives us courage and resilience to keep trusting in love, to keep engaging. It helps me to think of trees, just how the stress of trees actually helps to strengthen the heartwood, to deepen and widen the roots, so that the growing stressors in our world, the political, climate, violence, it can awaken our hearts, deepen connection. And that's the prayer of the Bodhisattva, of an awakening being. It's, please, may all that's happening, may this serve our collective awakening. And you might pause right here just for a moment and just sense what it's like to feel the realness of what's going on, the stress, the suffering, the realness. And sense what it's like to very sincerely have that as your wish, your prayer. Please, may this serve awakening of compassion, of wisdom. For me, it just reconnects with the truth of what's possible. So I want to speak about what's helping me to navigate these days, and hopefully it'll be of some use to you. And outwardly, it's being with each other, no question. Inwardly, I'll share three things. One is to be in don't know mode. We have so many ideas about what's happening and why it's happening. Just to put down some of the beliefs and the thoughts and be curious, because I feel like the narratives that try to explain things and that blame and that predict, get in the way of reality, a larger reality. And I found for myself, I have so many blind spots. And I feel this is true for many, many beings, that we live in our bubbles, right? And we need to dismantle our habitual understandings. So there's space for a fresh, a wise, a compelling vision of what's possible. So that's the first, is just creating a clearing so that I can be in that don't know mind, curiosity. And the second is, and this one just staying intimate with feelings, receiving the moments in this body and heart. Those mantras, this too, that everything belongs. Sometimes I'll just say to myself, it's like this right now. And when that happens, I start getting intimate with what's under the feelings. And if you feel under anger or distress or fears, there's something that really matters that you care about. So I'll say, what am I really caring about? And no matter what, no matter how negative an emotion, it's always life, loving life underneath. The third thing is to remember how joined we are by our caring. One of the meditation communities, a retreat center in North Carolina, responded to Hurricane Helene. Many places still don't have water. Huge damage. So they jumped in really fully with others in the area. One person was interviewed, talked about comparing pre-storm, when his interactions were politically charged, to afterwards, when the tragedy put everyone on common ground. And he described having this unexpected, poignant moment. One stranger parked a car, it was covered with MAGA bumper stickers on the same bridge from which he was surveying the damage. And together they looked over the destruction, and then they hugged. He said it was a moment of empathy that would have been unimaginable just a week earlier, that he'll remember for the rest of his life. I'm sharing that because I think of them on the bridge hugging, and how all of us, as we realize our shared vulnerability and our love for life, we're on that bridge together, feeling our world, caring, and hugging. And that includes, this is important, those whose confusion blocks the realization. There's caring, they're just not as awake to how it unites us. So this is what helps me. It helps me to remember those who are caring, all of us. So I want to invite you into a practice, short practice, and just to name that the shadow of these times, it's not our anger, it's not our fear, it's the tendency to get numb, or apathetic, or indifferent. That's what's toxic. So there's real nourishment in feeling our feelings and opening and feeling the vulnerability and remembering the caring. Okay, let's practice. Invite you to, however you're sitting, let your attention go inward. And let yourself find your breath. Sensing that as you breathe in, you can open to what's right here. And as you breathe out, you can let the breath go into a larger field. Breathing in and breathing out. Let yourself think of all the people alive right now, caring about the earth, about each other, people wanting peace, justice, healing, including those whose caring might be buried in fear or confusion. And think of, through the past, all the caring beings, the countless acts of kindness through human societies everywhere. And those in the future, our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, the caring, wanting the best world possible. So sense through all times this vast field of caring, undivided heart space. and that we belong to this. We can take refuge in this. And even as you sit here breathing, you might invite forward whatever emotions might have been strong or difficult in these last days and weeks. Feel that you can breathe them in and courageously feel them. You might sense the circumstances that fuel them. Breathe in, feel the vulnerability, and just to name it, fear, aversion, anger. And sense as you breathe out, you're breathing it out and letting it be held in that shared heart space, that space of care. That's simple. Breathing in, touching what's here. Breathing out, feeling that shared heart space. You can breathe in and touch the realness of hurt and fear and pain. And that you can breathe out and let the earth and the skies, the spiritual heart space we all share, hold it all. There's room. And as you're breathing, you can bring to mind all the others that also are feeling this human pain. So you're breathing for all of us. Breathing in the realness of our human predicament and offering it out into the heart of the world. There's space. Breathing in for all of us, courageously touching the pain that's here, and breathing out into the shared heart space that holds our lives. Sensing as you continue to breathe that you are that shared heart space, that spiritual heart space, vast, luminous, tender, that's holding this precious life. And knowing that the more we trust this, this is more true than any story of separateness. The more we trust our shared belonging, the more our lives become love in action. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your presence. Now we have my dearly beloved colleague and friend, Reggie Hubbard.
Tara, thank you for that lovely practice. Blessing and peace to all of you. Can you hear me? Right on. Like I'm an old sound guy. So got to make sure the mics work. Otherwise, I'll be speaking into the void. Right. So, thank you for your reception of my question. Thank you, Mushim. Thank you, Tara and James, for being my partners in this event and partners in this work of compassionate community care, tenderness, and awakening. I extend my hand of friendship and open heart to all the feelings that are present in this room and on this broadcast. I welcome each of you in your delightful humanity, with all of its complexities and its seeming contradictions, the joys and the sorrows, the ups and the downs. I welcome my ancestors, guides, and all benevolent forces of healing, caring, and grounding in this moment. Please visit with us and stay a while. I wish you all a good day wherever you are in the world. I'm joining from the unceded territory of the Piscataway Nation, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. So I saw several Marylanders in the chat. Shout out to Maryland. A mere 20 miles from Washington, D.C. And in recent days, along with the impact of daylight savings time and the outcome of the 2024 campaign season, we've had a cold snap. Like it snowed yesterday. And that's a welcome invitation to be still, find warmth, and settle in, right? And if I'm being honest, I normally don't have a problem finding warmth. My blood runs hot. And recently we were in conversation. Dear Tara remarked how each of us are responding to this moment, each in our own way. And that elicited laughter and smiles among our group. You know, we're a lovely, heart-centered crew, kind of like the Mindful Avengers, united in creating space for one another and holding a vision for a more whole, connected, and engaged community. United in the beautiful struggle of creating conditions for mutual thriving and the alleviation of suffering for all. And in times such as this, I feel I'm called to be a spiritual first responder, as most of us do. And if I were to describe my dominant character trait among the group, it's righteous anger and real talk. And so I've been speaking truth to power since I was a kid, nourished with the lifeblood of hip hop culture. And consciousness and social justice was ubiquitous. So I grew up in the conscious era of hip hop. And in my lived experience as an aware, intelligent Black man in these United States, I've always had a baseline of anger and rage in response to how I and others like me have been treated. And I understand the truth of spoken by Elder James Baldwin is to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. And I want to give deep gratitude for my yoga practice, my Dharma practice, and my ancestor practices, and the communities that I occupy that allow me to channel this rage into a laser focus and an enduring connection to peace in mind, body, and spirit. But y'all, let me tell you, on Wednesday morning, November the 6th, 2024, I woke with deep peace and was pissed. Like, I haven't been that mad in years. And so by means of introduction from 2015 to 2021, I spent all of my waking hours in direct opposition to the harmful policies of the 45th president. I will not speak his name. And as a campaign operative and political strategist, marches and protests and ways to intervene legislatively. So it cut me to my soul to wake up on November the 6th, like, we're doing this again? Ooh, that hurt me, y'all. It hurt me. And talk about the worst Groundhog Day ever. And again, with gratitude to these practices and my teachers and guides and ancestors for the tools to sit with my anger and my sadness, y'all. Because I know that anger has its rightful place in our lives. Anger arises and points to what we care about, what offends us as unjust or just not right. And anger has the energy of fire. And the fire element is key to energy and dynamism, as well as destruction, if not managed well. I'll read from my dear colleague's book, Love and Rage, from Lama Rod Owens, where Lama Rod talks about his anger, and he says, my anger is old, personable, and dependable. It is older than me, yet younger than the youngest child I know. It is so old that most of us no longer believe it was ever born to begin with. It's the primordial deity that we come to worship, thinking that somehow it will be the revolutionary leader who will set us free. And yet it is also our jealous master. Anger is actually trying to tell us something. Anger is confessing it's not the main event. There's tension from arising from the unwillingness to be with this deep sense of being hurt. And when I begin to look at that, one of the hardest things I could ever admit to myself is that I was just hurt. I was just pissed off. I was actually deeply hurt and deeply in despair of the situation. And this realization just made me feel weak. Western culture does a great job of shaming anger, gaslighting us into thinking that we're crazy for feeling what we feel. And I'm here to tell you, if you're angry, please give yourself a round of applause. Congratulations. Congratulations, because as Tara talked about before, you're not numb. So congratulations for feeling your anger. You know, congratulations for having the sage counselor visit you And if someone tries to make you feel a certain way for being angry, peace be upon them. Because failure to give anger the space and attention can cause moral and psychological injury. We feel what we feel, and it's okay to feel what we feel. Quoting the wisdom of my dear friend and teacher, Sharon Salzberg, we need to allow every feeling the dignity of its existence. Then we can decide if we want to take it to heart or let it go. And taking it to heart does not mean forming a grudge. I'm awesome at forming grudges. Again, thank you for mindfulness practice. Or holding on to it. But taking it to heart is heeding the wisdom of an honest reckoning of sitting with your anger in all of its dignity and allowing it to integrate into your thoughts and actions as you move forward, harvesting that wisdom and then moving one foot in front of the other, leading with love. The Dharma teaches us that anger can be transformed to wisdom when it serves to ease one's suffering and make the world a better place. But this transformation can only happen in a place of honest expression, tender inquiry, and vulnerability. When we take the time to be with our thoughts and ask, what is it that you have for me to consider? What do I need to be aware of? And when I consider more deeply what my anger has been telling me over the past few weeks, if I'm ruthlessly honest and radically transparent, anger is showing me deep sadness and grief. Deep sadness and grief, sadness at the state of our country and the coarsening of public discourse and the hardening of hearts. That makes me sad. Sadness and grief at the pain that others feel because of the outcome of the election. So how am I holding what's unfolding? Long walks on the beach barefoot, sitting with these instruments. My background that you see here, all of these are sonic instruments that I use to pray and meditate. Silence and deep breaths, journal entries, and holding virtual community. I've been placing one foot in front of the other. I've been in conversation with my sadness, anger, and grief, viewing them as guides and how I discern how to heal and move forward. So yes, even referring to them in terms of personification. So with anger, I've been like, anger, it's been a while since we've been so connected. What do you got for me today? So, because when you talk about it and spend time with them as guides, it points you to what you need and it allows you to yield wisdom from this. And what have I yielded from my time in holding anger, deep grief, and sadness? Determination. Determination to support my community, support Black women, Black men, LGBTQ, DACA recipients, and other marginalized communities who will likely experience direct harm from this administration. I'm determined to be a bulwark against that. Determination to keep creating spaces for connection and healing. And determination to help people make sense of what unfolds in a way that reminds us of our agency and our shared destiny. So I'd love to now transition to a sound practice because that's what I do. It'll be a short one. I see the hallelujah hands right on. You must be familiar with my work. And in this sound practice, I'm only going to play it for like 30 seconds or so. No, pardon me, a minute. But the questions I want you to hold as I play this sound are, what does my anger ask of me in this moment? What does my sadness and grief point to? And just sit in that inquiry. Be aware of the inquiry that we're holding together, those on live stream and in virtual community in this Zoom room. And when the bell plays, allow things to fall away that you don't need anymore. Cool? So find a seat that gives you comfort. Find a posture with the shoulders that is relaxed. Find a breath that suits you in this moment. Maybe placing one hand on the heart for tenderness and just a visceral reminder of tenderness. And again, as I play this bell, allow the mind to be softened with the inquiry of what are my emotions asking of me now? Keep what you need, let everything else fade away. Be present with how you feel now. Be present with the wisdom shared with you by an honest reckoning with your emotions. And as you're ready, please release the meditation. May my words be a balm to weary souls and an inspiration to weary hearts. I now pass the mic to dear James.
Thanks so much, Reggie. Thanks to all of you for showing up and being here together. I'll offer some words that, as I was saying just the other evening with my Sangha, whenever I give a talk, I'm giving myself a talk. So I've been giving myself a lot of Dharma talks lately, and hopefully this will be of some use to you as well. Yeah, so the way I'm holding it is we're living in a collective surreal reality. For me, sometimes I'm going about my day and doing my things and answering email or whatever I'm doing. And then I remember this wider reality that so many people can't just go about their life and forget. And then I'm open to all the feelings that probably you have: disorientation, disbelief, sadness, grieving, confusion. A lot of confusion over that I've had to process over the fact that so many have a different reality from mine, who are basically decent, good people. I do believe that most of the people who have a different reality than mine are basically good people who just want a good life and have a different perspective. So all of that, as we've been hearing, I had a feeling going after Tara and Reggie, I wouldn't have that many unique ideas, but starting with just allowing for it all, holding all the feelings, as has been mentioned before. But I want to make one point from Buddhist teachings, if I may. There's a word in Buddhist philosophy, papancha, which is a really perfect alliteration, onomatopoeia, that describes the proliferation of thought that can give rise to creating a whole world. And the practice that I'm trying to do is to honor all the feelings, but not get lost in the stories that are associated with them, because that just leads to more contraction and negativity. So I'm trying to hold the feelings with tenderness and kind awareness. And when I remember, hold the papancha, the proliferation of thought, also with that kind awareness. I've been sharing this quote I love from Pema Chodron. She says, "We can let the circumstances of our lives harden us so that we become increasingly resentful and afraid, or we can let them soften us and make us kinder and more open to what scares us. We always have this choice." And so I've been finding myself alternating between processing what's inside and just allowing, and then a part of me that wants to engage. Okay, what do I do with all of this sadness or grief or well, all the feelings that you might be having? On one hand, one of my taglines in my email quotes Angeles Arian that says, "Action absorbs anxiety." And on the other, I'm not yet clear what exactly to do, other than being with you and having my little support group that creates these events. And I'm so grateful for our planning group because it does function as one of my main support groups these days. But I've been remembering many years ago, I read a book by this guy, Robert Fritz, called The Path of Least Resistance. And he made the point that it's okay not to know, and it's okay to wait. But he says in that waiting, it can be a little bit confusing because we want to get engaged. And he talks about, it's a book on creativity, the creative process. And when you want the next thing to appear clearly, we can get impatient, and like you're planting a seed and it's taking so long to sprout, and then it finally, maybe you see a little bit and you want to pull it out, but you can't pull it out yet. And he talks about the patience that is required in that in-between limbo state where you've planted the seed, where you care, but you're not quite sure what to do with it. And he says, this is the time that requires real patience. You can't hurry up the process, but to just honor where I'm at and just to listen. But one thing is clear, that life will continue to unfold. And for me, the pendulum of reality in a world of impermanence will continue to reveal new things that I don't know yet. In this world of duality, I'll just pull this up just to remind us all. This is reality, the yin yang. The light begets darkness, the darkness begets light, and our job is to just be with it all. And I do know that I am so fortunate to have Dharma values, values from the teachings that have meant so much to me, that help me to hold with compassion as much equanimity as I can. That's one of the main Dharma values. And here is just to remind us all the archetype of Kuan Yin, who is ready to leap out and answer the cries of the world. And at the same time, she's so relaxed and equanimous, waiting for being centered as she's ready to act. And I really do need to understand how so many people have a different perspective. As I said, we need to figure out how to get along and hear each other. One line from Martin Luther King Jr. that has really touched me. He says, "You have no moral authority over anyone who can feel your underlying contempt." And I've had to really practice keeping my heart open and finding a balance first within myself, but also in relationship to others. This is from Laura Jean Truman. Keep my anger from becoming meanness. Keep my sorrow from collapsing into self-pity. Keep my heart soft enough to keep breaking. Keep my anger turned towards justice, not cruelty. Remind me that all of this, every bit of it, is for love. Keep me fiercely kind. My son Adam called as the election returns were coming in, and he said, "Hey, how are you doing? How are you holding all of this?" And it just came out of me a line that I love from Suzuki Roshi, who said, even if the sun rises in the west, the bodhisattva only has one way. I was kind of surprised that it came out of me. That was the first thing. I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I think I'm going to remember that. And that we're fortunate enough to have these practices where the principles of love and compassion and kindness and goodwill and caring and inclusivity and non-separation, seeing the interconnectedness of life, those are the things that no matter what is happening on the outside are my guiding star, my guiding light that keeps me going that one way. And so I remind myself and I invite all of us that there's only one way to proceed, to show up for the world that you want to create and let go of any timetable. And of course, as has been said, to take really good care of yourself, to nourish yourself and remember all the good things in your life and get in touch with gratitude. And has been said, like-minded friendship. Here we are together. It probably feels as good to you as it does to everyone else on the line. Last week we had a gathering for the alumni of the Jack and Tara's wonderful program, MMTCP program. And Tara started off the day and she asked quite appropriately, how are people doing? And people put in the chat box, scared, angry, hopeless, depressed, basically freaking out in one way or another. I don't know if freaking out was one of the answers, but we were all kind of holding all those feelings. And then there were these teachings, beautiful teachings about loving the earth, and from other wonderful teachers and teachings. And Jack, towards the end of the day, gave a beautiful talk. And I had the honor of being the last person for the day. And I was feeling in the room, it felt pretty good. And I decided to ask, put in the chat box, how are you feeling now? Hopeful, inspired, determined, we can do it, one after another. Still some sadness, but yes, we can go on. And it just struck me how when people come together and collectively hold whatever we're going through, we get in touch with underneath that whatever external protection for our heart, our anger or our fear or our worry or whatever, we can then get in touch with that soft spot inside. That's what Pema Chodron calls getting in touch with the soft spot. And as has been pointed out, that soft spot is connected to something deeper than the protection that the anger and the fear are keeping us from feeling all of that sadness. But that soft spot, that vulnerability, comes out of caring and love. And when we can connect with that, we tap into a power that's much greater than what anger and outrage can result in. So just finishing up now, with a few thoughts. First, this Rebecca Solnit passage that probably many of you heard. You may need to grieve or scream or take time off, but you have a role no matter what. And right now, good friends and good principles are worth gathering in. Remember what you love. Remember what loves you. Remember in this tide of hate what love is. The pain you feel is because of what you love. And another wisdom teacher, Belvy Rooks, it's one of another email tagline, Belvy Rooks, who says, this is the moment we were born for. So here we are, because we are so fortunate to have the medicine. So my main question I ask myself is, what do I need right now? What's helping me get through these times? It's like Milarepa, listening inside to the truth. Because underneath that caring is love and connection to the truth. So now I invite us all to reflect on our own truth inside. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and just ask yourself, what will help me respond to these times from open-hearted presence? What do I need most to remember? I'll say it again. What will help me respond to these times from open-hearted presence? What do I need most to remember?
If you've loved being part of this post-election heart wisdom holding what is unfolding and all of our Mind Art Democracy online events, if you love this and want to be part of what's ahead, please join our mailing list so that we can send you emails, Zoom links, whatever information you need to join together in community in this way. And that information, I'm sure, is in the chat of how to join the mailing list. So we're wrapping this up now, although the work continues as always and the joy continues. And I invite all of us to, let's just take a big breath together. You don't even have to think about it as a mindful breath. Let's just do a big breath. Let's breathe in and out. I see Reggie doing some yoga stretching. We can do that too. Yep. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. The arms are up. And breathe out. Whoa. In closing, as our worlds burn in violence and in hatred, please continue to join us in the Mind Our Democracy community. We recommit to creating safer spaces in which people who come in through our many doorways feel seen, heard, valued, and accepted. Understanding that spiritual and meditation practice is not separate from social justice. We learn and practice loving kindness, bold compassion, courageous joy, and community empowerment for the long road ahead. We move and work together to create the world in which we want to live. We move and work together to create the world in which we want to live. Our hearts are broken open. Our community is whole. With blessings and gratitude to all for your presence, wisdom, and sharing today. Thank you so much.